My name is Gilbert Olay of section A57 IT177p, and today I will be talking about SQL injections and JavaScript injections, how they occur, and how to prevent them.
First up, I will be talking about JavaScript injection. What is JavaScript injection? JavaScript injection is where one is able to insert and use their own JavaScript code on a page. It may be to test or exploit a website's vulnerabilities, such as doing this with malicious intent, which I'll be discussing later. JavaScript injection allows you to alter a site's contents without actually leaving the site, and is useful when needing to change hidden data before one sends it to the server. So basically, it allows you to change parts of a website without leaving the site, reloading the page, or saving the site to your desktop. I'll be performing a simple sample JavaScript injection. So let's go to the URL and clear it. Then we type JavaScript :alert. Then within the parentheses, we can put a message, hello, semicolon, enter. There, the alert box comes up with the message inside, hello. Now we could try insert adding on to this. So I put a comma, quotation marks, world, and then it with a colon, enter. Again, the box occurs with the hello, and when I press OK, it would lead me to another page that has the word world. Now, here's a sample website I was working on. As you can see, the text is pretty small down here and up here on the top. So when I press Control-Shift-J, it will lead me to the console, and then when I insert this bit of code, as you can see, all the font sizes have been increased. All the words are increased, I mean. And there you go, a sample JavaScript injection. I'll be explaining what are JavaScript injection attacks. These attacks can be done in a browser or in a console like in Chrome. JavaScript opens up a range of different attacks including session ID hijacking, keylogging, page redirection, and prompts for downloading third-party malware. JavaScript injection attacks take a variety of forms, and each form requires different treatment and different defenses to adequately mitigate. An example would be cookies. Cookies are often used to store session tokens. If an attacker obtains a user session cookie, they can impersonate the user. Types of JavaScript injection attacks. As you can see here, these are the types of JavaScript injection attacks. We have the URL reflection XSS, stored persistent XSS, segmented cross-site scripting attacks, and DOM-based JavaScript injections. Here are each have a definition next to it. So where do you find each of these attacks? So for an URL reflection XSS, you'll find these in web applications that take parameters from the URL and display them on a page. For the stored persistent XSS, you'll find these in pages with message boards, forums, and comment systems made from scratch by the website developer. For segmented cross-site scripting attacks, you'll find these commonly on pages that have comment systems. And for DOM-based JavaScript injections attacks, you'll find these with pages with DOM elements that are modified via URL modification. These are some preventions to prevent JavaScript injection. As a web user, you should manually enter the URL rather than clicking through an email or another web page for accessing sensitive services. As a web app developer, perform input validation and variable encapsulation on the client side and the server side. This prevents malicious code from getting freely passed around the system. Validating the input every time and not just when the data is initially accepted. An example would be setting a cookie and making sure the cookie is the same value and is correct on each and every request, since most malicious users can modify and change the value anytime during the session. Sanitizing input by escaping special characters in the user input string. This prevents expressions in the string from being mistaken as code and executed. Next is reflected URL attacks and DOM-based attacks, which was discussed earlier, can be avoided by escaping and validating input that comes from the URL string of the application. Library exists for escaping all types of user input using a server-sided language. Last is the use of tools like AJAX requires special precautions to prevent XSS being stored in the database. Next up, I'll discuss what is an SQL injection. This is a definition I got from Wikipedia. An SQL injection is a coded injection technique used to attack data-driven applications in which nefarious SQL statements are inserted into an entry field for execution. This allows attackers to spoof identity, tamper with existing data, cause repudiation issues such as voiding transactions or changing balances, allow the complete disclosure of all data on the system, destroy the data or make it otherwise unavailable, and become administrators of the database server. I'll show you an example of an SQL injection. Here are a list of sites that you can test your SQL injections on, and they're completely legal. So we'll try the test asp.vonweb.com. Here's the site. It's pretty simple. And I'm gonna try and log in without registering. So I will put, let's see, hi, painful, or 1 is equal to 1. I'll also put that same bit for the login password. 1 is equal to 1. And as you can see, it logged me in. Log out hi or 1 is equal to 1 dash dash. The double dash in this, it tells the MSQL server to ignore the rest of the query, which will get rid of the last hanging single quote, the hi. So it'll select everything from the table regardless if it is equal to hi or not. That is an example of an SQL injection. Where do SQL injection occur? The attacker must find an input within the web application that's included inside of an SQL query. Then the vulnerable website needs to directly include user input within an SQL statement. An attacker can then insert a payload that will be included as part of the SQL query and run against the database server. Ways to counter SQL injection attacks. One way would be to constrain and sanitize input data. Check for known good data by validating for type, length, format, and range. Use type-safe SQL parameters for data access. You can use these parameters with stored procedures or dynamically constructed SQL command strings. Use an account that has restricted permissions in the database. Ideally, you should only grant execute permissions to selected stored procedures in the database and provide no direct table access. And lastly, avoid disclosing database error information. In the event of database errors, make sure you do not disclose detailed error messages to the user. And that is all for JavaScript injection and SQL injection attack.